All right, I'm excited to talk to you today a little bit about the recap of the James River for the Bass Pro Tour event we just had there in late June, and it was a pretty good one. I ended up in 20th place in my group, or 19th in my place in my group, so it'll be like 38th-ish overall out of the 80 guys. And what I did was I kind of found one area that really had numbers of fish, and I was able to stick around in it. I never caught any real big ones. I had one spot I caught a 3-4 and a 3-1 off of like 45 minutes apart. And then there was just a lot of like 2-pounders, pound and a halfers mixed in. I caught a bunch of shorts too. The first day I ran around a lot. So we'll just kind of go over basically everything that happened. My practice we'll start with, then we'll just move right on through. So if you have watched this video before, or my channel before, I guess I should say, I was leading the first 2 days after the pro circuit event there in 2022. So I went and checked that area first. It was one of the first spots I pulled up to, and I caught one there. Wasn't real big, but I did notice right away there was a coontail edge that had been there in the past along this edge of this ditch. Wasn't there anymore. So that wasn't really set up the same. It kind of silted in a little bit too, so that kind of hurt what I had going on. But I ran through there, but I did find another creek in that same general area that had a bunch of fish in it. And as the tide was getting lower, I was getting more and more bites, and I was feeling really good about what I found there. I caught probably 2 or 3 on a jackhammer like we usually do. And then I made that switch, went back actually to that first one. I got another 3 or 4 bites out. What I was doing, I was just covering this hook up. I was putting a piece of plastic on there that when they bite it, I can just shake them off so I could come back hopefully in the tournament and catch them then as well. So I did that. So I felt like I had one really good area. That place I caught them before, I was like, I could go there, maybe get a bite or 2. I wasn't overly thrilled about it. And then I bounced around a lot in practice, checking stuff that was good in the past, some that wasn't. I did a little bit of offshore fishing some wood. Got some bites doing that. I actually got more bites on the 3rd day doing that of practice than anything. And it actually made me start in a different area than I was anticipating. I was running down to the Chickahominy. That's where I was fishing pretty much all my tournament. I left it once, which we'll get into on day 1, but yeah, practice overall was solid. I felt like I could get some bites. I didn't know what was going to be good. I thought if you caught, I would say probably, I was thinking 25 pounds a day, you would be doing pretty well is what I was thinking, which ended up being like a check. I think I was 51 something. So I was a little over that average, and I was thinking it would put me like, I don't know, mid-pack, like 12, 13, 14th in my group, something like that. And it got me in 19th. So, and there was a big gap in the standings there between it. So basically, let's start with day 1. Day 1 of the tournament, they enacted the trailering policy, which basically means, and we start at the boat launch, pick up our marshal or official for the day. And that was up at Osborne Landing, which is up the James River closer to Richmond. And from there, I drove down to the upper part of the Chickahominy River, put in at Rockahawk Campground, and it went along with another probably 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, something like that. And I wanted to fish the top part of that in the morning because I thought I had a good little bite going offshore. And the tide was up, and I knew that was going to affect it a little bit, but I was hoping I could still, there was a lot of fish on these areas. And when I put in at 7:30, we get a 30-minute ride around period. We can't put lines in until 8 o'clock. So I was sitting on the one spot where I was going to start, and they were schooling. I saw 3, 4 like good ones come up. I was so excited, but I had 20 minutes I still had to wait. And by the time I started, these fish actually had kind of pushed off. I could see a couple of them on my active target when I was looking around, but not many of them. So that was kind of a bummer. But it is what it is. I fished that. I ran like 3, 4 other spots like that for a while. Didn't get any other bites. And then I started running down the Chick a little bit. Pulled up on some cypress trees that I got 2 solid bites in practice on. I had one that was probably 3.5 and another one that was closer to 4. And the tide at this point has been pulling out. It was getting lower. And I threw my jackhammer back over there and was reeling it and set the hook on one, and it was the first fish of the day. I think it was 2.8, 2.12, something like that. It was a solid 2-pounder. Then From there, I ran to another, that creek I was telling you about where I got a bunch of bites. And I wanted to be there for the outgoing part of the tide and the first part of incoming. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, I just timed it a little bit wrong. I should have probably not started at the top of the chick there and fished that wood, because I think low tide the first day was 10:56, and by the time I got down there, it was probably 9:15. So I only had about an hour and 45 of the outgoing at that point. I wish I would have got a little more, because I think I could have caught some more fish, because as soon as I got in there, I started rolling my jackhammer around, started catching while that tide was really moving. And then once the tide slowed up, I picked up my Z-Man bang stick. If you haven't seen the videos that I posted recently of this, I go into a great amount of detail of how you rig this, how you set it up, the nail weight. I even do a little tank test that shows you how it moves underneath the water with it. So make sure you check that out. That'll be helpful for you. But I caught a lot of fish on this guy. I would say I was probably 60% bang stick, 40% this, and then the last day we'll talk about that guy. And that one too a little bit. But I got those fish. I was doing well. I was sitting in, I would say 12th place after the first 2 periods of the day. And at this point, my tide was starting to come back up. I ran to a duck blind I wanted to fish, and that was where I skipped that ball and out jig underneath it. And that's Buckeye lures, by the way. I just grabbed a brand new fresh one. I don't have one on the rod. I actually broke it off at the end of the day the other day. But I'll thread on either a Z-Man goat or a turbo crawl or something like that with this guy. But skipping it up under that one duck blind, and I caught 2 at the end of the second period that jumped me up to 12th place. I think I had 28 and change, I want to say. So I was doing well. I was feeling good. I was happy with like the rotation. I started off a little behind, like we were talking, and kind of was getting away from me once that tide started coming up. But I didn't have a real great high tide plan, so that affected me a little bit too. But I made a decision in the third period to run to a different creek up the James, where I was gonna have a better tide. And I thought I had actually had quite a few bites in practice there. A lot of them were solid 2-pounders, like 2.5 to almost 3s. And I think I caught 3 fish. I shook off probably another 8 or so in practice the little time I was there. So I was feeling really good about it. Went there and I just started catching shorts. It was short after short after short after short. And I hooked one good one that I was fighting it. It was again on that bang stick, and it just pulled off for whatever reason. I must have had them skin hooked or whatever the deal was. And then I had another one that I threw over to this piece of wood and set the hook. And if you know anything about the barnacles down there, they tear your line up. Like they're brutal. So that ended up cutting me off. And then at the very end of the third period that day, I threw my jackhammer around some cypress trees in that creek again, and I caught it was either 1.8 or 1.9. It was just barely a keeper, but it was a keeper, and that fish played a huge role in sneaking out a check, because I ended up cashing a check, I think, by 1 pound 9 ounces. So without that fish, I would have been on the wrong side of that, would have missed out on 10 grand there, would have been really frustrating going a whole period without any fish. But that's how it goes sometimes. But luckily I was on the right side of it this time. So then we go to day 2. I rode off the top of the chick. I wasn't going to do what I did the day before. We lost our tide. Normally it's 45 minutes, but since I had a day off, it actually ended up being, what would that be? By hour and 45, or hour and a half, hour and 40, something like that, different. So I had more outgoing, and I started in that creek where I was catching them on the jackhammer and bang stick. And when I got in there, I guess I hadn't fished it on that high of an outgoing tide, but it was ripping. Like the current was pulling out of there. And I only caught one in the first hour. It was again on that jackhammer. It was a good one. It was a 214. Solid way to start the morning. Kind of bounced around in there a little bit. And then once that tide started to settle out, I went to work. It slowed the current down. I took the Z-Man bang stick, went to town. Like I caught a lot of fish on it. Jumped me up from, I think by the end of the first period, actually I know by the end of the first period I was in 20th place again. I had dropped down a little bit from that, but I settled in. Second period I was fishing, I guess I got probably an incoming tide at that point. caught some more fish, got up to it. By the end of the second, I was again sitting in 20th place, just like I was coming into the day. So you had to be 20th or higher to get paid. You had to be 10th or higher to make the knockout round. And at this point, I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen. The difference even between, I think, 17th and 20th was like 13 pounds. So they had started to run away with it, the guys that were a little bit higher than us. So at this point, I was just trying to figure out anything I could do to get bit. And it was kind of a chore. Like, again, I was fishing high water at this point, and I had not had much success all week doing that. And for whatever reason, I tied on a buzzbait. It just felt right. I guess I could roll it through the pads, the arrowheads, and all that. This is the Berserk buzzbait from Buckeye Lure. It's kind of folded up, the package, but this is the guy I was using right here. This one here is I believe this one's a 1/2 ounce. But it's a really good buzzbait. And I was actually throwing it just straight skirt. I wasn't even putting on a trailer with it. And you can see when you reel this, it actually clinks its head, so it makes a lot of noise. And I was very fortunate. As soon as I picked that bait up, I actually caught I think it was a 213, 214, something like that. Probably second, third, fourth cast. And I was pumped about that. That really got me started off the day really on the right foot. And it was really getting me going. So that was good. And then after that, I went over a little bit further to current seam with a pad, reeled it across the top of that. And I caught another one that was 212, I think. Something like that. So I went actually from being in 24th place, jumped up to 20th, and then I went and flipped a little bit. Again, that guy, there's an old rickety duck line, if you want to call it that. There's a couple pieces of wood in the water, and caught a 1.9. So that all jumped me up, got me to 19th with a 1/2 hour left in the day, and I was sitting really good then. It pushed me over the top, was able to get from there, what was it? I guess to 19th. Yeah, so Keith Poche, he was in 20th. Brandon Coulter and Brent Myers were just outside the cut. And I held on, basically, is what happened. But just that guy right there saved my day. Make sure you check out that thing. It's a really good buzzbait. I've been throwing a decent bit this year. That's new from Buckeye. I believe Swindle had a big part of playing it, and he has another one called the G-Man Buzz or something like that, that has no skirt, but you're made for threading on a soft plastic. So basically that's what we had going on for us this week. If you get down to the James River, awesome fishery, ton of fish in it. You're going to want to make sure you get down there and check it out and do a little bit of exploring down there on your own. But it's got giants in it. I didn't come across any of them this week. I think a 3 1/4 was my big one. So that's going to hurt us for heavy hitters, but got us some more points. Hopefully keeps us in contention for requalifying in 2025. I need to have a good tournament here at the last one on the St. Lawrence River. That'll be in early August, so I got a little bit of time off. If you're looking to sign up for a guide trip, I got those available in pretty good chunk of July. I got a kids youth camp up in New York with Kurt Dove that we go take them out fishing on Oneida, so that'll be pretty cool too. But that's basically what we got going on. So hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And like I said, check out that bang stick video. It was just recently uploaded. Actually, I put 2 of them up. But that will get you started, and you can get all that stuff at Fishing Online. So thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon.